So, Nate, what are we talking about today?
Well, so I think we could call this kind of like what Bulwark does, which is like an emergency podcast about a current affair that is happening now. And
Yes,
we could say, okay, we're having an emergency podcast to discuss the intricacies of Ian Cameron and crew being hijacked in the streets of Philippi in South Africa, which is one of the episodes we just shot, right? I mean,
that's
we
right.
just shot.
Yeah, we had a whole long conversation about hijackings in the area around Philippi East and Philippi Village in particular, and the nature of the hijacking gangs there. So that's I suppose worth checking out for people who want to learn more about that. Uh,
Right.
Hi guys, hi. Right,
Hey, buddy.
Douglas. Yeah, apologies, we late. Asanda will join in the next 5 minutes.
No worries, no worries. What we're going to do is we're going to watch the Biz News interview with Ian Cameron, where he'll talk about his hijacking, and then we'll just talk about that and about his experience and about what we know about that area and hijackings there. How does that sound?
Perfect.
Cool. Then let's just mute ourselves so that I can start the video. And Nate or Colin, just let me know when you want to stop, chat about a certain thing. I'm going to fast forward through some of the introductory stuff. Yeah, let's start this.
Sounds good.
Let me screen share. Okay.
has survived an attack on his life. Two of his colleagues
Okay.
were injured. We are very fortunate to have him with us today. Welcome, Ian.
Good morning. Thank you, Chris.
Wow, I got a fright when I saw you. You must be in pain.
Yeah, it feels a little bit more painful this morning. There's a little bit more swelling, and you can't see it very well on the camera. But two of my teeth are broken, so yeah, my teeth are quite sore. It's not a good clean break, if that makes sense. And so I'll be spending some quality time with the dentist later on today.
Ian, please take us through the horror experience yesterday.
Sure. So, Chris, it's not a very long story. We did a surprise visit at the Philippi Training Academy of the South African Police Service, and when we completed our visit, we were on our way back to the airport to drop Lisa, a fellow MP, at the airport. She was sitting in the back of the vehicle, and Nicholas Gotzel, my fellow MP, as well, sitting in the front next to me. I was driving, and the road was quite congested. That part of Nyanga of Philippi East is problematic. Uh, I mean, I've been working in the area for over 5 years. I know the area well, and we know the risks there. Um, yeah, and the traffic started piling up. Municipal Bucky from City of Cape Town stopped next to us, and while the working, well, no, not the one worker, one of the drivers said to us, "You guys really need to be careful here." And I said to him, "No, we know. We've been here before." And Lisa just said something doesn't feel right. And when she said that, obviously you immediately are even more alert. And it was in in a space of seconds. And they broke the window on my side. Um, and shortly after that, me and the guy that was trying to get in on my side was like, I was trying to keep him out, and he kept on coming and kept on like hitting. I don't know what he had. I'm guessing it was another brick, but the brick that he broke in with was already inside the car. It was on my lap. And then yeah, I was pushing him away, and then I just heard another shot on the other side, not a gunshot, just a noise, a loud noise. Looked around, and they had hit Nicholas on his head, very, very bad wound. He was just covered in blood. His whole face was covered in blood. His clothes was covered in blood. And at that very moment, they hit Lisa's side as well. So there were two guys trying to get in on that side. Um, yeah, Nick fell down to his lap with his head. and uh, obviously I tried to defend us with what we had, and we managed to escape. But it was quite a scary experience. They just kept coming. It was like nothing would scare them off, you know. I mean, we all threw punches and were fighting back, and they never managed to steal anything, but they were very determined to get into the vehicle.
At what stage did you get to your firearm?
So I probably when Nick dropped down to his lap,
Why don't you pause
and
there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So before we start, because we have a tendency to analyze these things in with a degree of detachment. If that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Um, I just want to say, like, that scenario happens often and is terrifying. If you guys want to unmute and comment on that, Sonda, you in particular, you've been in it without the crashing window. You know, like that's all of that circumstance sounds true. All of those movements sound like they would have happened. Let's clarify. This is happening over by Stock Road, right?
That's
This
my
is an
understanding
area.
of where it's happening. Yeah, that corridor along
This
Stock Road.
this is an area that we identified with all of the various police, SAPS Metro and others, along with community members, as one of the worst areas for hijacking in Cape Town, or all of South Africa, possibly. So um, his story is very closely aligned to the many stories we've heard and experienced personally. Um, so I just want to say, yeah, it sounds like he's being fairly honest about the play-by-play. Um, Here's where I think we're going to get into this later, but this to me sounds a bit more targeted than most.
Why do you say that?
So I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, and I'm open to the idea that this is not likely. But we also do experience this being likely often, especially amongst politicians, competing politicians in Philippi crossroads. He's coming in with a DA with one or two DA members in a medium desirable truck or SUV. I can gauge that from the pictures they showed us. I mean, it's fine. He's doing a surprise visit to SAPS or Metro.
It sounds like it's SAPS, but it's not entirely clear. But SAPS
So
sounds like
let's.
the surprise visit target.
I'm going to withhold my judgment on that. Colin, I'd love you to jump in a minute to give some background on Ian Cameron's political persona. What is he? What is his deal? And we are aware and very that two things happen, right? One would be it's a car of non-black people. I'm not sure who the woman is. Of
Yes,
non-black
they're
people.
all they're all. My understanding is all three of them are white DA MPs.
Okay, I wasn't sure if the woman might be a colored woman or otherwise. So, so that's a target. We know that, right? We heard from the hijackers that we do look for people that aren't black to hijack. Because we know they're not from here and we know they don't know their way around and they usually give up stuff. Um, but the other circumstance, which he's not telling in detail, also seems like it's setting up the same sort of setup we heard about 100 times. So yeah, the municipal guys drive up and go, "Hey, you got to be careful," but that doesn't happen often. They must have seen a pattern. We've got one of these days where they're doing their little car checks, where they've got the taxi stopping so they can figure out who they want to take a car from, right? And so if we go back to our earlier hijacking discussion, there's like I'm going to call it a conspiracy there's a fairly I'm saying conspiracy because it's not just the hijackers that are involved. It's taxis and a handful of other people that are in spots and checking for cars, right? Over there on that road, the other reason I say this sounds targeted is these guys are fighting back, which doesn't happen very often. Most of the time, people concede and or run. And in the circumstances in which we've seen unarmed guys try to hijack a car and people fight back, we've seen them run. We've seen hijackers retreat. These guys, they're not giving us numbers, and maybe he will later, but I doubt it. It's definitely 3 or 4 people minimum, and they're doing it with bricks. So that's not. I don't want to call that uncommon. But what I want to say is there's a possibility here that something political went on that targeted these guys. Somebody knew they were coming through. In the same way that I told you that I haven't told this story on record yet. But when I went to visit Philippi Saps one day, they were warning all of the tuck shop owners to hide their guns because they were going to raid them the next day. And then I heard a tuck shop owner, I won't give any details to them, no, you cannot take guns. To the Saps officer at Philippi, right? And they're having this exchange where he's just going, yeah, we're coming through, so just don't have them out, man. And they were speaking about this openly in the street, not like in a back room or in some shady conversation, or even dropping by the tuck shops to be like, hey guys, we're going to come around tomorrow. It was on the main road where Philippi precinct is. And so the reason I'm highlighting that is because it is possible, although I'm not convinced of the likelihood yet, that this was something somebody sent off and said, hey, Ian Cameron might be coming through at this time. So
I mean, it sounds a bit unlikely, given what we know about the nature of the visit that he was doing. What is publicly known is that this was a surprise visit. It was unannounced. It was meant to be unannounced. So that's why I think it's actually more a crime of opportunity. They were just sort of in the wrong place at the wrong time. Because it's just a spring like last minute kind of check, and the DA is known for this. They're known for, especially Ian Cameron when it comes to SAPs. For this the inspecting police stations. He is known for doing unannounced visits, and something that SAPs hates. They hate these unannounced visits.
But this is why my theory is. But I'm going to withhold my stronger case points on this until we get more detail. But before we move on, I did want Colin to give a background on like what Ian Cameron's persona is, his brand. Colin, are you there?
Just stepped away for a little bit, but he'll be back in a moment.
So how about you, Asanda? I mean, like, how does this read as a story to you as somebody who's been through it?
So, I mean, you've mentioned it already, but we know that this particular skin color in that particular area is it makes you quite a large target when it comes to the guys doing this work. Now, I'm thinking about what you're saying, but I do think I probably fall in line more with Douglas on this one. I think it's the usual young dudes doing this. Now, I don't know what a surprise visit means in their world, or how much notice there is, who gets notice, if notice is ever sent out. But in terms of the MO and the way this happened and the ages of the people they at least have in custody at the moment, it sounds like the same kind of young dudes that do this, generally speaking. And I believe that it was random even more because it was a normal brick, right? They weren't prepared in any real way. We know those guys have fake / custom-made firearms that they can use. And if it really was a hit, I'd imagine that they'd be much more prepared. And I'd expect them to be a little bit older than these guys, because we've dealt with the older group of guys doing this, but we've also dealt with the young ones who are just stupid and trying to get money or whatever it is they want from these guys. And so just reading, it's for me sounds very similar to a lot of what people were experiencing in the area. Now, I do want to say though that in the smash and grabs we've seen or heard about, it's usually one or two guys, and that's been a lot of what we've seen with the hijacking. At firearm, that's been like a group and more coordinated. So it's just, for me, I'd say it's hard to tell if this could have been set up or prepared ahead of time, more than just being a random act of violence by a bunch of kids. They thought it was a smash and grab. It was easy white targets, and they were going to get what they wanted from them.
Cool.
But yet Colin's in, so
Yeah.
maybe he
So
might
before
be
we
able
move
to
on,
add a bit of extra.
to see if there's more info in this video. This is my fresh watch on it, so I haven't seen this yet. Douglas knows, so he's cheating in his argument. But as you can tell, in this emergency podcast I'm doing from a cafe. I want Colin to just give a background real quickly on Ian Cameron's brand. His who is he? Who does the community think he is, and what's his claim to being a well-known entity, not just an. Colin, would you comment on that?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Go ahead, man.
Okay. I think I first came known to Ian Cameron. I think I was at the lab, and he showed up at the community meeting in Cooks in the time of Becky Kelly. And he was quite outspoken about the killings. But I immediately could see this is a political move, right? It was not a genuine concern for the community, because Ian Cameron, I think he was from the Action South African political party. And then when he made the move to the DA, I thought he's going to take JP's position. All right. But then they moved him into the portfolio community. And when I heard about this attack, for me, at first I thought it's a setup by a political party, because he did a surprise visit to the Philippi SEPS College. All right. I speak under correction. I don't think it's the metro behind Philippi. It's there. And I don't think smash and grabbers, that is not one of the hotspots. The hotspot is on the corner of New Eisleben, as is that New Sheffield Road, there by Marcus Garvey. The hotspot was never in front of the police college opposite, that's Heinz Park. Heinz Park is more known for gang violence, gang-related shooting, but not for a smash and grab in front of that police college, because there's forever police buses going in and out with new recruits. And that college, there is a rumor of big corruption, right, happening there, because the college is in a bad state, but there's forever being money being dedicated to the college for upgrading. So I don't know what was the reason for the surprise visit, but I thought this looked like a setup, right, to attacking them, because like I said, Philippi is known, but we know more or less where all the hotspots is. If it happened in front of that college, it don't look like a smash and grab for me. It looked more than an attack, right, that was orchestrated from a political party. I don't know, maybe could be from the CPF or from a neighborhood watch group that is more aligned to the to the National Governing Party. So that is my view or my assessment
Sounds good, dude.
on the South
But
African Academy.
but I guess would you mind commenting, because you alluded to it in the your first comment, which was like he showed up at SAP's meetings and made these big shows of them, right? He would like fight with Becky Teller. He would comment all the time on like the issues of the township, right? Like, so
Yeah.
to add fuel to this, as an insider of that space, he's a very famous character in the township, more so than probably anybody but JP as a white MP. Can I say it like that? Because he was genuinely fighting for better treatment and more resources for the township at a potential serious personal expense at the time. Um, so and without sort of turning him into some great guy, I don't know him well enough to say that. I do think even if there's just a small part of this, and I'm going to hear how this goes. That where I am going to do a prediction anyway. I think there has never been a time a politician showed up on my doorstep without me knowing about it well in advance, no matter how secret this was. Right? No matter how unannounced. Yeah, saps will sit around and like not hear about it,
Yeah.
maybe, but we'll know. The community, somebody in the community knows, that some other politician knows. And we've heard a history of stories of politicians being informed by somebody else and then instigating something to try to make these guys look bad, make each other look bad, or otherwise actually just kill each other. And again, I'm not saying I'm certain or even that I'm convinced of it. I'm just open to the idea of it. But the broader thing here is, I think there's a possibility that whatever Ian Cameron's plans were that day, somebody knew. And I've seen local MPs and local politicians conscribe the youth to it, and I won't name them, but you guys know who I'm talking about, who ran some organized crime stuff in Uganda, used to be contracted by the counselors to go attack and harm other counselors. So that happens even intra-politically, let alone inter-politically. If that makes sense. So anyway, I think that's. Is there anything else you guys want to say before we hear the rest of this video?
Yeah. It's I mean, that's certainly something that the ANC has got a long history of doing in the township space. I mean, we actually worked with and know someone, an ANC councillor, who was murdered due to internal ANC politics. It later turned out. I'm still a bit more skeptical that it was planned. I do still sort of think it was a crime of opportunity. I mean, one thing's clear is that Ian Cameron is a victim in this case, and he is definitely deserving of sympathy, and the attacks against him, or rather the criticisms directed against him, largely by, I think at the moment it's the Good Party, Patricia DeLille's party, that is mostly sort of raising heckles about how they the problems that they have with the way he conducted himself during this hijacking attempt. There's a bit of background about Ian Cameron. So as Colin was saying, he sort of really came to fame by challenging Becky Clearley very publicly in 2023. His background before that was he was working for, I think, AfriForum, if I'm not mistaken. He was sort of on their crime watch detail. And made a name for himself there. So he does come from that sort of the right side of South African politics into the Democratic Alliance, which is a center right party by South African standards, although by American standards a solidly far left party, sort of maybe to the left of the Democrats. But it's an interesting case. The one thing's for sure is that the township space is a high chaos space, and because there's so much chaos and there's so much uncertainty about what's going on, there's a lot of possibilities of what could have happened. That is true.
If I may jump in, so it's kind of hard to read because I was trying to figure out where this happened, but they're saying it was our corner, and by our corner I think Eisleben and Becky.
Yeah, that sounds
But
sounds about right to me, about sort of where I understand it. And I know that that area, there are, and I remember Rory talking about this because Rory is actually a victim of these guys, but he also did a lot of work in that area when he was working for Sustainable Livelihoods, sort of mapping this. That there are a lot of criminal gangs that specialize, youth gangs, sort of that specialize in hijackings along that area. So there are criminals of opportunity operating there, who would not hesitate to act on an opportunity as they see it. Sort of three people driving in a sort of somewhat unremarkable, mildly desirable vehicle, and they wouldn't be dissuaded by the presence of or the vicinity of being close to a police institution, because the fact is that in these spaces the police's presence is pretty minimal, even if you're geographically close to these locations. So these criminal entities sort of essentially operate with impunity in this space.
And sorry, just to add context there, I think Asanda put it funny, but what he's saying is it's the place where the exact hijacking happened that he told the story about for Asanda and I.
Oh,
So
yes, yes.
I
So very close to where Sandra, you were hijacked.
yeah, that area. It's not, I mean,
it's just a little bit.
Sorry,
where was
Sandra?
it? I can't quite see it. Yeah, I don't have any info on exactly where it was.
I'll put something in, but it was, and it's hard to tell what means what, but he was basically driving on his way on New Eisleben down to get into Borchards to get to the airport, is at least the story as it stands now from one news source.
And for anyone who's not South Africa, when Asanda says down, he means up.
Sorry, up, going north, yes, towards the airport.
All right, cool.
Cool. Should I continue playing?
Yeah, let's finish this video if we can.
Cool.
I knew that it was, that's the only opportunity that we had. They kept coming, and Nick was definitely losing a lot of blood. And at that stage, from what I recall, leant over, reached for it, I pushed him down, and then did what needed to be done. And that was it. Then we sped off to the closest petrol garage, and at the petrol garage we parked in a way that we could still see any oncoming threat, because it was still close by, so we were scared that they would come back. And we then immediately started calling for emergency services help. Lisa spoke with Crisis on Call to arrange the medical emergency services. So there was a really good response from both ER24 and Metro EMS. Metro Police from the City of Cape Town reacted very, very quickly, and local SAPs, Philippi East SAP specifically, and Nyanga SAPs were phenomenal. They were very, very quick. And then specifically City of Cape Town Metro Police, and also CPI, the private security company, also came through. But initially, what was a humbling part of it is that people didn't know initially that it was us. So you just call for help, and it was really amazing to see the compassion and just the enthusiasm with which everyone arrived there.
How many of the attackers are under arrest now, Ian?
So according to what I know, one is currently critical in hospital and under arrest, under police guard. The second one, so that first one is an 18-year-old. The second one is a 16-year-old that they arrested earlier this morning, and I'm told that they're busy tracing the third suspect.
Ian, what do you believe was the motive for this attack?
It's difficult to say. I mean, it needs to be investigated. Off by heart, it seems opportunistic. I've seen a lot of speculation of people saying that they want to do a hit on me and all sorts of things. But to be honest with you, it's irrelevant. The investigation must take its course. We're not going to stop doing our work. And I don't say it in a melodramatic way. We're not deterred. I spoke with Nicholas this morning, and both of us were joking that we, tongue in cheek, are even more attractive now. So we were joking, and Lisa is just incredible. She's like a little matriarch to the two of us. So yesterday she was extremely caring. We felt like her kids. And yeah, so no, Chris, I don't know what the motive was. The charges seem to be attempted murder and attempted robbery or hijacking. The police are on their way to see me now, so then I'll learn exactly what the charges are that they're looking at. But again, gonna do our jobs. It's not gonna stop us, whether it was targeted or not. We're gonna continue doing what we do.
Now, you were on your way back from the Philippi Subs Training Academy. That was not your first oversight visit. You have been there many times, and you have worked really hard to try and exterminate the deep rot there. What did you find on your last visit yesterday, Ian?
Yeah, so it was an average kind of visit. There were minor improvements on things that we found previously. Cleanliness in the room specifically was improved of the students, but generally speaking, the place is falling apart. The mess hall is filthy. On the floors, you walk on the floor and your shoes stick to the tiles. Nicholas found cockroaches in some of the showers. There are quite a few toilets that don't even have any working parts anymore. Urinals that don't work in some of the dormitory bathrooms. There's a whole list, Chris. The point is, it wasn't an exciting meeting. It was unfortunate that one of the senior members at the academy came to me afterwards and said we owe the commander an apology for the accusations regarding corruption at the academy, because there is no corruption. I laughed and I said, all of the corruption that we spoke about was aired from inside the South African Police Service. It's not something that we sucked out our thumbs. So I'm not sure what her agenda was, but nevertheless, once again, we won't be deterred. We'll be setting up a report regarding it. Yesterday was obviously a cosmetic visit in terms of looking at infrastructure and just general conditions at the academy. But with regards to the corruption allegations, we'll be following up, because unfortunately the Hawks have gone completely silent regarding the investigation, and it's a large amount of money that is concerned. Interesting that she also said to Lisa, yeah, there's no corruption here. And Lisa said to her, how do you even know there's no corruption if you haven't been financially audited in over 6 years? And she just went quiet. So yeah.
She was trying to intimidate you.
Oh, I don't know. If she was, she didn't do a very good job. Again, we're going to do what we do, and it's a privilege to be able to.
Well, Ian, your life has been in danger ever since your days at Action Society, and there have been repeated threats. Are you getting the protection you need?
Chris, so I could look after myself, and I don't need to sound melodramatic in any way. We do what we can personally. I've been receiving a lot of support and encouragement from the Democratic Alliance as well. From Parliament side, after yesterday's incidents, everyone also called and sympathized and so on. The police had done previous threat and risk assessments on me. The outcome indicated that some kind of protection was necessary. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But again, I don't expect special treatment. We're going to continue doing the job. So also, what's encouraging to me is the fact that we are actually quite a group of MPs, but also, a bigger network of people from civil society and so on that work together on all of this. And I think together we actually look after each other quite well. And yesterday is a good example of that, where the three of us were able to actually operate as a little team. I don't think they expected the pushback that they got yesterday when they attacked that little car.
Well, hopefully yesterday's attack, Ian, will speed up the provision of the protection you need.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Okay,
I'm not
can we
holding my
please,
breath, but
again,
again,
all right, sorry guys. This lady's interview
Yeah, it's yeah.
was brutalizing my psyche. The uh, I I want to shoot Ian Cameron another compliment. Um, I think he did what he could do here to minimize his bravado and to minimize the kind of the, what you might see in other circumstances. Someone trying to play like the tough guy who does these other things. I think he comes off, and I think probably genuinely is sympathetic to the area, and and I like that he changed the subject over to what he was really there to do.
I
Back
think
to the shaft.
it's impressive that he continued with his inspection after the hijacking.
Oh, absolutely.
I
Right?
mean, that's a power move. Like
Yeah,
the better
no,
way of putting
right.
it.
It's the kind of the kind of stuff that like only a handful of people we know would have done.
That's true.
And when I say a handful, it might be just 2 or 3, and I can kind of point to one which is similar circumstances. You guys might not remember this story in the litany of stories that were happening in this era, but Bushra went to go meet with counselors of the Philippi area at one point, and they had organized a very similar situation for her. Kids came out and started trying to stone her cause. There is no other explanation for why that, in all of the time that we're moving through these spaces, the one time that these kinds of attacks happen is when you're engaging with some sort of local politician. Again, I'm not going to try to say that I'm convinced that this is a situation where this was organized by SAPs or by local politicians, but the fact that he'd already highlighted the potential corruption of that site, for me, further pushes me in the direction that this was a potentially organized effort. I don't know why the interviewer, read. I can't remember who he said gave him that, like, hey, you owe us an apology for your accusations, right? But I don't know how she saw that as a threat, but I think in some ways it is certainly part and parcel of the larger responses. It means this has been a conversation that's been going on around the area. They already know what he drives. They know what he looks like, and they can try to establish some sort of response to that. But it's almost immaterial, right? Whether it was set up or whether it was, because the MO is the same. And this is a thing that everyone else deals with. The big difference in everyone else's story that we hear is that usually lethal force is closer at hand, number one. And number two, most people we know have not received any response from any of the police agencies that they would have called, ourselves included. I mean, we called twice, and we were closer to the hijacking experience than it sounds like he was, in that he drove to a petrol station, which we know there are only about 2 along that road in total. One at Govan and Becky, and one down about a mile south of there. Or for those of you in the metric system, reasonably 2 kilometers. So it's not, and neither of them safe. Neither of them are safe spaces. So I sympathize with him in that. Anything you guys want to comment on? Mr. Barnes?
No, I agree. I mean, it is clear that I want to say clear. Even if I look at the garage, if it happened there on Govan Mabeke, that's not a safe garage, right? On New Eisleben and Govan Mabeke. I would drive past that garage if my life were, in danger. But and I think that the police officer, that was a kind of threat. to demand the apology. All right. And to instigate this kind of things. All right. Because they have youth that they engage and they know who's who. And for me, it looked like a brazen attack because there were 3 passengers in that car. Right? A smash and grab is you hit and you grab and you run. But this looked like an attack on 3 of them. That looked brazen, and that doesn't look like an ordinary smash and grab.
Or an ordinary hijacking.
Maybe if it was
because
maybe if it is 2 females, right? You can expect, right, that smash and grab. But I don't know if it was 2 males and 1 female.
yeah, 2 males, 1 female.
2 males and a female. And both of the men
Yeah, and I
are
don't know
like my age. They're not they're not older MPs. They're 40 somethings. They're not old guys.
Yes. So yeah, so that is my opinion or view that this was a kind of a setup. All right.
I mean, that is a good point about the hijacking. I mean, it's unusual to try and hijack such a complicated case, such a complicated vehicle, because there are 3 people in it, and they're attacking with bricks. An attack with bricks is not really a hijacking. That's a smash and grab sort of tool, right? You throw a brick through the window, you follow it up by grabbing something and then running away. It sounds like either that was just a horrible mess, but also why would you do that with 3 people in the car? Additionally, as a hijacking, tossing a brick through a car window is not a good hijacking method, and it's more complicated if there are 3 people in the car because you got to get them out the car before you can drive away in the car, right? So a brick is A, not the right weapon, and B, it's a complicated target. So that is worth keeping in mind, and I mean, like, it is worth noting, like, this part of the world in these spaces, in the township spaces, being a high chaos environment where it is normal to engage in skullduggery and dodgy politics, and one of those tactics is to deny access to places you don't want people to see by making it too dangerous to come in, by like throwing rocks or sending threats or just sort of creating a hostile atmosphere. That is quite common in these spaces. So yeah, I mean, it's all possible, right? It's so many unknowns at this stage.
Unfortunately, it's going to be conjecture for now and probably forever. But what I love about this story is that even if it isn't organized, it allows us to talk about that this is the kind of thing that happens, and this is the level of professionalism with which it happens, and by that I mean almost none.
Yeah, that's right.
That idea. And
compliance
and
is excellence.
It's the kind of idea that
compliance is excellence, Nate.
The older generation still engages in, because they think, we'll send him a message and then he'll be scared and he won't come back here, and that'll be the last we deal with Ian Cameron. And we faced a lot of that kind of crap, even non-politically, just as an agency that didn't care. That kind of stuff came our way here and there. And so I feel like for me, it's a familiarity that I appreciate being reminded of, because I sometimes forget about it, is that these guys think these weird little old tactics are going to scare everybody away. And for some it does. But Ian Cameron, to his credit, I want to shoot him another compliment, isn't that kind of guy. He's the kind of guy who experiences this and goes, oh, well, now I got to double down.
Yeah, there's something there.
I gotta go to Shaft now.
Yeah, there's smoke, so there must be fire. I must go check it out. Yeah. And I mean, on the professionalism side, I mean, How could you say that about the South African Police Department? Don't you know compliance? Compliance is excellence. Yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess in the South African Police Department for sure.
Yeah, and I need Asanda to come in on some of this. I might be talking a little just too far out my neck, but yeah, I want to hear your opinion on this too, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to add, guys. I think we've about said it all. But I guess, like you said, the one thing I love about this, not that I wanted anything to happen to Mr. Ian Cameron, but the one thing I love about this is that, you know, I think we've twice now spoken about, you know, the dynamics around hijacking in the space in terms of the perpetrators, as well as, you know, the kind of areas it's happening. And I just love that this is, you know, connects all of that to a very real story, because of course there's a 16-year-old involved. Why wouldn't there be? It's all kids. And we kind of went through the COVID chat and, you know, what youth unemployment is and how they've been impacted. So I think if anything, this just really solidifies some of our old findings, some of the hot spotting, because if we take the article at face value, this is one of our highlighted hotspots.
Yes.
I mean, we said, you know, I think for hijacking in particular, but, you know, hijacking, smash and grab kind of overlaps a lot from the bottom where we were at all the way north through the road to the airport along Isley Urban. And so I guess that's it. That would be my big takeaway from at least this video, is that it proves, or at least shows, a real example of the spaces we were talking about, as well as the kind of profiles we put together for the kind of people doing this work. It isn't very organized. It's not very well done. And it's a bunch of kids just trying to, you know, get fun or get a buck or whatever it is that they want. And, you know, I think SAPS already knows all of this, not to call anyone out, but none of this was new to them when it happened.
Yeah, no, agreed.
I mean, they found the 18-year-old shot, then they found the 16-year-old, and now they found the 27-year-old. And apparently, he's already known in the space. You know,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's also, you know, he's taking these little contracts. No, let me not posit that. He might be taking these little contracts from the counselors. You know, it's that kind of stuff. So yeah, he's known.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
And the community collectively chooses to not engage with it. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, but I do want to add a bit of source to what you were saying and what Colin said, and you in particular note that the MO of not running away would be the weirdest part of this. In every example, in every case that we've ever been engaged with, particularly while we were working along that corridor, as soon as there was any level of resistance, even in our case, we didn't have a gun, we didn't have a weapon. You just said no, like you just said, nah, not today, not now. And they had no energy to continue down that road. And only once did we have any issues. And even then, it was probably a misfire and a miscalculation. And there was a whole lot of chaos around that one. But we've had multiple partners and clients experience hijacking or smash and grabs in the space. And many of them who did experience that, once they, you know, were able to get a little bit out of the space, they were kind of free and let go. And so a smash and grab with a hijacking, well, to be more specific, hijackings with bricks are very weird in the space. And the energy they put
yeah, the reluctance to leave the scene when things weren't going as to plan. Yeah, that is quite strange. Yeah, it is unusual. Only running away when a firearm was discharged on the attackers.
Yeah. So I have two things. I think this is an interesting story. I think, can we keep our Friday time in case a few more details come out and we want to come back on this?
Sure.
Everybody good for Friday still this week?
Sure. Well, I'm going to wrap up the video part of this, and then we can talk about next time afterwards. So, yeah, that's the wrap up for this this podcast.